The plane felt hot and crowded as I walked down the aisle, dragging my small carry-on behind me. My ticket said 23B, a middle seat. I sighed quietly, wishing I had a window seat instead. 5 hours trapped in a metal tube, side by side with strangers, didn't sound exciting. When I reached my row, there was already someone sitting by the window. A girl, wearing a cream-colored hoodie, a matching cream cap, and a brown bag resting on her lap. Her face was mostly hidden behind a black mask. She looked small and quiet, almost invisible, like she didn't want anyone to notice her. "Hi," I said softly as I took my seat. She nodded slightly but didn't reply. Her eyes stayed fixed on the clouds outside, lost in her own world. I couldn't help noticing how carefully she held her bag and the way her hoodie hung softly around her shoulders. I adjusted my jacket, black and green, zipped loosely over a gray shirt, and tugged at my black jeans, trying not to appear too eager or awkward. The seat felt tight, but I focused on observing her subtle movements, trying to make sense of the calm, quiet presence beside me. As an accountant, I'm used to analyzing numbers and balancing complex reports. But sitting here, all those calculations felt meaningless compared to the curiosity I felt toward this quiet stranger. Over the years, I've worked in Dubai and Canada with multi-MNCs, handling large portfolios and complex audits. Yet somehow, nothing prepared me for this feeling. A mix of awe, excitement, and disbelief. The first couple of hours passed slowly. The airplane's hum, the occasional announcements, the shuffle of passengers moving down the aisle, all blended into a soft rhythm. She barely moved, just occasional glances at her phone or flicks of her hair from under the cap. My curiosity grew with every moment. I decided to try talking. "Do you travel often?" I asked quietly. She shook her head slightly, barely noticeable, and returned her gaze to the clouds. The silence between us felt heavy, yet oddly comforting. It was like sharing a secret space, two strangers in a cabin full of people, connected by nothing more than proximity. Then the flight attendant came down the aisle with food trays. She pulled down her mask to eat, and I froze. My heart skipped a beat. It was Selena Gomez. I blinked several times, thinking I must be imagining it. But no, it was really her. The same face I had admired in music videos and movies for years. And now, sitting in her cream hoodie and cap, brown bag on her lap, she seemed so approachable, so real, and yet so extraordinary. She noticed my wide-eyed stare and smiled softly. "You okay?" Yeah," I said, trying to sound casual. You look exactly like Selena Gomez." She chuckled, a soft, natural laugh. "That's because I am." I froze again. "Seriously?" She nodded. "Yes. I don't always fly private. Sometimes I just want to experience normal travel, like everyone else." Her words lingered in my mind. Even someone so famous wanted a moment of normalcy. I smiled awkwardly. "That's actually really cool." For the next while, we ate quietly. I could see the brown bag resting on her lap, her fingers lightly touching it, and I noticed how calm and careful her movements were. She didn't seem like a celebrity in that moment, just a person enjoying her flight. I finally asked, "Do you ever get tired of people recognizing you?" She paused thoughtfully. "Sometimes. People think they know me, but they only see the version online. They forget that I'm just me." I nodded. "Yeah. People only see the surface, not the real person." Her eyes softened. "Exactly." After that, a subtle shift occurred. The tension melted, replaced by quiet understanding. I felt lucky to witness this private, ordinary moment with someone so extraordinary. I kept observing small details, the way her hoodie hung on her shoulders, the slight tilt of her cap, the brown bag on her lap, and even the faint scent of coffee drifting from the cabin. Every little thing made the moment feel surreal, yet real. And as the hours slowly passed, I realized that something about this flight had changed. A quiet anticipation. A feeling that these next few hours would be unforgettable. The hours passed quietly at first, but then the plane's gentle hum became a backdrop to something far more unexpected. She leaned slightly toward her tray, sipping her drink, and I noticed a small smile tug at the corner of her lips. I realized I wanted to talk, to connect, but I didn't want to break the rare calm that hung between us. "So, do you travel often?" I asked, trying to sound casual. She glanced at me, her eyes soft under the cream cap. "Not really. Only when work or life demands it. I like traveling, but I usually go unnoticed, which is nice," she said. Her words resonated with me more than I expected. As an accountant, I've spent years analyzing numbers, managing large corporate audits, and traveling for work. Dubai, Canada, multi-MNCs. I've seen the busy offices, the boardrooms, the chaos behind glossy presentations. Yet despite all that, there's a strange comfort in anonymity, something I suddenly shared with her in this fleeting moment. "I get that," I said. "Even when I travel for work, it's rare to just be ordinary. People usually see the title, the experience, the resume, but not the person." She smiled faintly, a glimmer of understanding in her eyes. "Exactly. That's why this flight feels different. Quiet. No one screaming, no cameras, just space." We laughed softly, the tension easing, and then, as if the silence had been holding us back, the conversation began to flow naturally. Movies, favorite foods, travel stories, everything seemed easier to share now. "I've always wondered what it's like for celebrities," I admitted. "Being recognized all the time, never having privacy. You must get exhausted." She nodded. "Sometimes, yes. But moments like this, they're refreshing. Talking to someone who isn't impressed or starstruck makes it feel normal. Makes me remember that I'm just me." I chuckled. I know the feeling. Working in different countries with huge corporations, everyone has expectations. Dubai, Canada, multi-MNCs, the pressure, the deadlines. You start to forget what it feels like to just be yourself. She tilted her head slightly, intrigued. "Really? An accountant who's worked internationally? That's impressive. But you sound grounded, not boastful." I shrugged, smiling. "It's just life. Numbers, spreadsheets, audits. Eventually, you realize it's all temporary. What matters are moments like this, small, unexpected, and real." She nodded, and for a moment we were silent again. But it was a comfortable silence, filled with the shared rhythm of the plane and our subtle connection. I noticed her glances out the window, catching the sunlight reflecting off the clouds. "I've never flown like this," she said softly. "Just sitting, watching, talking. It's peaceful," I smiled. "Sometimes that's all you need." Even with my busy work life, I try to find quiet moments like this. A sunrise in Dubai, a walk in Canada, little things that make everything else fade for a while. She laughed softly at that, a sound so natural it made me smile. "It's nice, isn't it? Just being real for a moment, without everything else pressing in." We shared small stories about our childhoods, favorite movies, and meals we loved. Every word seemed to stretch the flight into something more than just a journey. It became a memory, an experience I knew I'd remember for the rest of my life. Then I remembered the photo I wanted to take. "Do you want a picture, maybe? Just to remember this?" Her eyes brightened slightly and she nodded. "Sure. Why not?" We leaned in, the brown bag resting lightly on her lap, the cream hoodie softly falling over her shoulders. The camera captured our smiles, genuine, warm, and unforgettable. As we settled back into our seats afterward, I felt a strange sense of gratitude. It wasn't just the conversation, or the laughter, or even the photograph. It was the quiet understanding that two people, strangers from entirely different worlds, could share something so simple, yet so meaningful. Time passed slowly, filled with soft laughter, small jokes, and quiet moments of reflection. I couldn't help thinking how unusual it was. A celebrity and an accountant, sitting side by side, talking like old friends, finding peace in a 5-hour journey above the clouds. And in that moment I realized, sometimes it's not the destinations or the work, not Dubai or Canada or multi-MNCs that stay with you. It's the small, unexpected connections that make life truly unforgettable. The announcement over the plane's speakers broke our bubble. "Ladies and gentlemen, we will be landing shortly." I felt a mix of excitement and sadness. 5 hours had passed, yet it felt like just minutes. The quiet rhythm of the flight, our laughter, the shared stories, all of it was coming to an end. She looked at me, her cream hoodie and cap soft under the cabin lights, brown bag on her lap, and smiled. "Do you want a picture, just to remember this?" I nodded eagerly. We leaned closer, and the camera captured our genuine smiles. For a brief moment, it felt like time had slowed. No titles, no headlines, no expectations, just two strangers sharing a fleeting, unforgettable experience. As the plane touched down, I reflected on the conversation. Here I was, an accountant, someone who had spent years managing spreadsheets, traveling to Dubai and Canada, and working with multi-MNCs. I was used to precision and deadlines, yet none of it compared to this simple human connection. She noticed my thoughtful silence. "Everything okay?" she asked softly. "Yeah, just thinking," I said. "I've been to big cities, worked in big offices, traveled a lot. But this might be the most memorable journey of all." She laughed lightly. "Sometimes the smallest moments stick with you the most." The plane slowed down, taxiing toward the gate. People were gathering their bags, preparing to leave. I felt a pang of regret. Soon she would disappear into the crowd, back to her world, and I back to my life of numbers and deadlines. She leaned in slightly, smiling beneath her mask. "It was really nice meeting you," she said. 5 hours went by so fast." "Yeah," I replied softly. "I'll never forget it." Her eyes softened. "Me neither." We stood, gathering our belongings. She adjusted her brown bag, the cream hoodie falling naturally, and gave me one last smile. Then she walked down the aisle, blending into the crowd at the airport. Ordinary once again, as if she had never been famous at all. I lingered in my seat for a moment, staring at the empty space beside me. The hum of the engines had faded, the distant chatter of passengers filling the cabin. I felt a quiet sense of gratitude. I pulled out my phone and looked at the photo we had taken, both of us smiling side by side. Not just a picture, but proof that extraordinary moments can happen quietly, between strangers who shared a fleeting journey. 5 hours in the sky had ended, but the story didn't stop. It lived on, in our smiles, in the shared laughter, and in the quiet memory of a journey that would remain unforgettable. As I walked off the plane, I carried that feeling quietly in my heart. It's not the work, the travel, or the accomplishments that define life. It's the connections we make, the stories we live, and the memories we keep. Sometimes brief, sometimes fleeting, but always meaningful. And somewhere, high above the clouds, those 5 hours had changed everything.